Thanks. I have resumed it. Now it is recording. Okay. And I resize it. So we see this measurement is not a good measurement. And we do one more thing. The what would be the measurement for this? We have the different measurements, but one I tell you here first. What we do, what we are getting, VI, and this, we get the square of this error and get the summation. It means we are getting the summation of EI square. And then we are dividing it by n. So we are getting the mean of this square of the error. And then we are getting the square root of this. Got it? So it is basically RMSE, root mean square error. We are getting the mean of square error. Square of error we are doing, then we are finding out the mean, and then we are taking the square root, RMSE. Root, R for root, mean, square error. Does that make sense to everyone? So we take this measurement instead of summation of EI. If it is low, it is near to 0, then it is good. It is the value is less, then it is good. But we could not say what would be the value of RMSE. It may be the sum. It depends on your data scale of your data, the variables, the various variables in your data, and each variable has a different scale. Suppose there is a age. Age is only the 2-digit number. And the person of age would be less than 100 years, so it would be 2-digit. And the income variable is there. It is the more than 5 digits, 6 digits. So there are different scales. And as per that, we will get the RMSE in the cumulative if we see. So at that moment, RMSE may be 2000 something, maybe 4000 something. So we don't have any criteria like the correlation analysis. If we do, we see that it is belongs it under between -1 and 1 only. If we see about the probability, it is 0 and 1. But RMSE, we don't have any range. It may be any number. So how we would decide it? That is the thing. So RMSE, if you are working in an inferential purpose, this regression analysis, then RMSE is not a good measure. There we use the R square and the adjusted R square. I will explain you later on that. As per that, we decide our line is best fit or not. Okay. R square, basically you could understand that it is the square of correlation coefficient. In the one way, I will explain later on what does it mean by here. In a general way, it is the R square is the that is the coefficient of determination, basically it is called. So coefficient of determination is nothing, it is the square of correlation coefficient. Okay, it always lies because it is a square. So it is always lie between 0 and 1 because the correlation coefficients lie between -1 and 1. So whatever the value which is less than 0, when you square it, it will convert in positive number, or which would be less than 1 because the numbers are in decimal only. Here also we get, so the r square belongs to 0 and 1. Does that make sense to everyone? If you have a r square 1, then your line is best fit. If it is 0, line is not best fit. Is near to 1, then it is the best fit line. Near to 1, not 1. I mean to say 1 is not possible. We will discuss on this later. We are just understanding the concept behind this linear regression. So when we use the RMAC in predictive analysis, so we find out the RMAC for our trend data, and we train a model with some data, that is a trend data set, and we also predict, okay, how our model predict with this data from which we have trained this model. So we see the RMAC of that, and then we find out the RMAC for validation data. If there is very less difference between RMAC of train and the validation data, then our model is good. That line is best fit line. Does that make sense to you? So RMAC is not a, we could say that a relative measure. RMAC is an absolute measure. So when you have an absolute measure, you require the another one. So by which you could make the comparison or see the relation, relative, convert them. But R square is a relative measure because the coefficient of correlation is also a relative measure. Got it? So now you understand the importance of RMAC, where we, and R square. R square we also use for the predictive analysis measurement, but RMAC we could not use for the inferential analysis purpose, linear regression, because we don't have any partition of the data. We have the one data, and we are getting the best fit line out of that. So we could not check it. So we won't get the other RMAC for the other data. Okay, so that is the R square is better measurement of the best fit line. So I will tell you how we get manually with one variable, then we go to the multiple variables. So how we get this best fit line? So I think that you are all aware about this equation. If you are aware, please you write on the chat box yes, or if you are not aware, write on the chat box no. So this equation represents what?
So straight line equation.
Correct. What is M here? Slope. And the C?
Intercept.
Correct. Nice. So this is a This is the equation of a line, and here this is our intercept on the y-axis C, and this slope, this theta, we see the tan theta, which is called perpendicular over base. So this is our perpendicular, this is our base. So this is our M basically. Got it? Okay. So in the linear regression of the two variable, one is the independent, one is the dependent. First we understand that, then we proceed for the multivariate. Okay. So what we have a X value, we have Y value, and a Y is our dependent and the X is our independent. We have these two values in our given to us, and we have to create a best fit line. Okay. What we do, we will work on these two variables. First we find out the X square, then Y square, then XY. We have not used any other variable. We have used these two. And then we get the summation of this all. Okay, summation of every, summation of X, summation of Y, summation of X square, summation of Y square, summation of XY. Got it? And final equation, what we require in the linear regression, that is just like that, A plus BX. It is just like same. It is the C is here, A is the intercept, and B is the slope here. Got it? We require this equation. This is the best fit equation we want. So for this best fit equation, we require these two A and B coefficients and the constant, the best coefficient and constant we require. And how we get this A and B? So we make two equations. Sigma y is equal to n into A plus sigma x. This is our first equation. So sigma y, we have n number of variables, number of elements we have, how many elements are there, and the sigma x we have. So we just put this value, and we have sorry, B here. So we have two unknown quantity A and B here, the unknown variables we could say here. Second is sigma y is equal to A sigma x, sorry, sigma x y, and B sigma x square. This we have. Second, so here sigma xy we have, sigma x we have already, and sigma x square we have. Okay. So now these two equations we have A and B. Two we have unknown, and two variables are unknown quantity, and we have two equations. So you could simplify it by any of the method, simultaneous equation these are, or we could easily find out solving this by any of the cross multiplication method. We could apply the elimination by coefficient, elimination by coefficient, or we have another cross multiplication, one more substitution method. We could apply any one of the method, or we could find out the value of A and B. Got it? And that those A and B value we put here. Okay. Any doubt? And in this way, we get the best fit equation. Okay. But when we have like data, and we have a line, and these are our actual, and These are our predicted. So this line equation would be in the predictive modeling of linear regression, or the linear regression analysis would be right. Y cap is equal to a plus bx. It is not a y is equal to a plus bx. It is a predictive value. It is not actual value it is showing us. If you want the actual value, this actual value you want, then there is some adjustment of error. So for actual value, you require what it? Okay. So in this way, we get the best fit line equation is this one. This is the actual value. Now I talk you and I tell you about the multivariate. In the multivariate, what happened? Y cap is equal to beta 0 is the intercept, beta 1 x1, beta 2. We have many variables x1, x2, x3, xk. So in this way, we get this equation. This is our multivariate linear regression equation. These are the coefficient for our x1 variable. These are the coefficient for beta 2 is the x2 variable, beta 3 for the x3 variable. Every variable have a different coefficient. The beta 0 is for the constant. That is the intercept. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. So this is the basic concept behind that best fit line. There are multi-dimension x1, x2, x3. We have the so many. Or as per that, we see a line which is the multi-dimension it is running. Okay, that 3D, or we could say multi-dimension. That is a straight line. Is there any doubt, anyone?
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, it means like with these equations only we predict the value, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
We predict the value here in the linear regression. Okay.
Yeah.
Or in the inferential analysis, we have a concern that whether these variables impact on dependent variable or not.
Okay.
It shows where the effect of the independent variables on the dependent variable.
All right.
That is the inferential purpose.
Okay.
Okay. Beta 1, beta 2 are the coefficient, just like A and B. B was there in the previous equation. Here we have B. Here we have many variables. So every variable we could not give the B, C, D, E, F, G, H. No. We have given beta 1, beta 2, beta 3 for easy understanding. Got it? Okay. I have everything is here in this PPT. I will share with you so you could better understand what I explained. And everything what I explained you here in this PPT. Now I am talking about the R square. Okay. You see, this is our Y actual, and this is our X. And we see the find out the mean of this Y, the actual Y mean. That is Y bar. Or we draw one line. It mean would be same for the all X value. Am I right? or not? Mean would be same for the all x values.
So like how?
Because we get the mean of the y, and the y is we have for each y we have a x, corresponding x is there.
Okay.
So when we get the mean of y, the mean would be same for all x,
Yeah.
and the mean of x would be same for the all y.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's the thing. So this line is straight now. You see,
Yeah.
and parallel to x-axis. You will see this line, the mean line of the y. Got it?
Yes, sir.
And this is our mean value is here on this line. What we get, the mean value of y. Okay, this point you see here. I just take one spotlight so you could better understand. This is our mean point, and this is our predicted y on this line, regression line, and this is our actual y. So this is the difference between predicted value and the actual value is some sort of error, that is E, yi minus cape yi, which I explained you earlier. This is our E. Got it? And the difference between mean and the predicted is cape yi. This is the cape yi minus y bar. This is this one. And this is the y minus y bar. Got it? Try, look it carefully and understand this graph. I am not in hurry. Concepts are very, very compulsory to be clear. See this very carefully, look it. Take your own time, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever you require. Try to understand this. You still have any doubt and confusion, could ask me later on. So I think you are all got this thing. Now I will tell you this all. Sum of square of total. SST for the sum of square of total. So this is the sum of square of total, yi minus y bar. This is the sum of square of total. We are getting the all points. Here I am showing only the one, but we have so many points. So we are getting yi minus y bar of all points and getting the square of that and getting the summation finally. And this summation of the square of deviation of the actual with mean is called the sum of square of total. Is it clear to all? Okay. And SSE, sum of square of error. So sum of square of error, you know that this is our error. So we get the yi minus y k pi square and get the summation finally and all points, and then SSE, sum of square of them. Got this also? Okay. Is there any doubt? And SSR is the sum of square of residual. Sum of square of residual. sum of square of residual. So that is from here to here. Because it is from the mean we are taking the predictive or the point of prediction what we have taken. So this is called the residual basically. Okay. This is the error plus residual, the sum of square of error and the sum of square of residual, we get the SST. So SST is equal to SSE plus SSR.
So that means residual is required for our study always.
What?
Residual is required for our study always.
Yeah.
Okay.
Residual is a very important role in the linear regression, in the interpretation part. We make so many graphs with the residuals.
Okay, sir.
Without residual, we could not interpret the regression analysis.
Okay, sir.
So that is very, very important. So this is the sum of square of total points we have taken. We have only here I am showing you one. You assume that there are so many points and we are getting the sum of that. And we are getting the sum of square of error, the sum of square of residual, and then we are summing it up. When we are adding the SSE plus SSR, then we get the sum is equal to the sum of SST, equal to the SST, addition of SSE and SSR. So we get this finally. And what is R square? R square, I explained you, that is the coefficient of determination earlier. And there we have a different technique. We know the coefficient of correlation between two. That is a bivariate analysis, correlation analysis. But here we have a multivariate. So not possible to find out the R square by the R correlation coefficient. Is it possible for the whole? We could not find it. So we have a different approach for finding out the R square. Because the SS are the sum of square of R, so it would be positive always. Everything would be positive. SST would be positive, SSE would be positive, and SSR would be positive. No one would be negative there. Got it? Are you agree with me? And when we take the ratio of SSR over SST, sum of residual over sum of total, we have not introduced here SSE. You see there, the R is very, very important. Residual is very, very important. R means here the residual I am talking about, SSR. So the R square is the ratio of SSR over SST. Suppose if your SSR is 0, the sum of square of residual is 0. Okay, this is 0. It means, what does it mean? Your SSE is equal to SST or not? If this line goes to here, hypothetically you think this mean line goes to here, then SSR is 0, and it means SST is equal to SSE. So you put here SSR 0, and 0 divided by any number would be 0. If SSR is 0, R square is 0. Okay. SSE is still there. There is no any changes in the SSE. SSE is still there. But if your SSR is equal to SST, this SSR is equal to SST. It means this actual point lie on this line. Then it may happen or not. Only then it may happen when SSR is equal to SST is possible only when this actual point lie on this line. Is it clear to all or not? Yeah. Okay, then only it is possible. It means we have sum of square of error is 0. SST is 0. Okay, so if these both are equal, so then SSR over SST, I could write instead of SSR SST. So SST over SST is equal to 1. So R square is equal to 1. And you see here the sum of square of error is 0. So RMSE, what would be the RMSE there? If you find out the RMSE, what would be it? If it is 0, then what will happen? We have the formula that sigma yi minus kyi square over n. So if this is 0, then what will happen? What RMSE you will get over there? 0. Got it? And R square is 1. It means if your R square value is near to 1, it means your model is good. It is a baseline. It would not be a 1 because it is not possible. It is not possible SSE equal to 0 in the real world scenario. Does that make sense to everyone? So our R square value lies between 0 and 1. You have seen it here. As I explained you earlier also. And that whiteboard, I explained you the R square lies between 0 and 1. Got it? Okay. So here R square show the goodness of model, or in other words, what percentage of variability can be explained in my response as a linear combination of predictors. Yes, in the interview, Jaideep, you could say that it is the sum of square of errors. If he is, then they ask about what sort of error, what is this error, then you have to explain it is the difference between predicted and actual or whatever you want. Okay. So I think everybody understand why the R square. Later on, I will explain you what is the adjusted R square, what is R square only. I will tell you that thing later on. But here we just understand what is R square. Okay, in the interpretation part, when we work with the model in the R, then I will explain you some more thing along with that practical, more interpretation. But we are understanding here the basic one. I first clear all drawings. Proceed to. I would like to, I don't like to explain much more here. This is the null hypothesis, and this I am not going to tell you later at this moment because there is a t distribution and these all things I have given there. You just understand this VIF. What is VIF? And I am going to explain you only this one, not SBJ and these all things. Variance inflation factor. It is for each variable, we have to find it out separately. J, R, J, why I have written. J for the variable wise. The first variable, second variable, you have, suppose you have 22 variables. So you will find out the VIF for all variables. So 1 minus r square, if your r square is 1, suppose your r square is 1 of a one variable, then 1 minus 1 is a 0. Okay. And 1 by 0, you will get the infinite VIF, variation inflation factor. Got it? So when you get it very near to 1, you are unable to get more information from your model. That is also the thing. Individual level, not the cumulative I am talking about. I am talking about the individual level. That particular variable is unable to provide you the more information if it is very near to 1 independently. Understand? It means it is highly correlated with your dependent variable. So you cannot find out the new information through this. You are unable to find out the new information out of that variable whose VIF is higher. So variance inflation factor is low. I am explaining that all thing, Jaideep. If the variation inflection factor ranges from 0 to infinite, how? I will explain you. If you put here 1, then it is 1 minus 1, 0. 1 over 0 is the infinite. If you put here 0, sorry, 1 to infinite, sorry. So if you put here 0, so 1 over 1 is 1. Okay. So it is 1 to infinite, you are getting the VIF. VIF is for the individual variable. It is not for the cumulative, for your model. So if some variable is high VIF, it is unable to explain you new information, provide you new information for your analysis. So if the some variable is not providing us the new information, that variable is not important for us. Are you agree with me? Suppose you have a variable and that variable is a constant variable and the every value is same. The 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. So you will consider that variable or not for further analysis. Correct? So what we'll do with the redundant variable? You will drop it. You will drop it. The similar way, if we have the VIF more than 5 of some variable, then we drop that variable. We remove it. We'll not include that when we train the model. We remove it on the priority basis. But suppose we have a 25 variables and the 5 variables which has VIF more than 5. We won't remove altogether because this also impact of altogether, cumulative impact, we are getting it. Suppose there are the four or five bullying students in a classroom. So what we do, what the teacher do? Teacher first judge who is the leader of that bullying group. And he only punished that one person, that one student. and sometimes the other 4 may automatically in control. The similar way, when we have the 5 variables more than 5 VIF, we remove only one from the classroom or from the data. So maybe other 4 may in control or may not be. So then whatever next time the highest value VIF more than 5, then we remove one out of the classroom again. So may the 3 may in control. In this way, we do it one by one. Got it? Because in this analysis, the cumulative impact works. Got it? There is a groupism, we could say, of the variables. Is there any doubt, anyone? Okay. Now, this is the one thing I have explained you. This we do after the pre-processing of the data. This VIF and everything we see later on. But before that, we have to pre-process the data as per our model. In the linear and the logistic regression analysis, what we do, we have a many sort of variables. We may have the categorical variable, we may have the discrete variable in the factor form, or we may have the numeric variable, continuous variable, we could say that numeric. So what treatment we will give to the categorical variable? Convert the categorical variable in dummy variable. First thing is that we want all variables in the numeric form. I explain you that. In the previous session, I also explained, but someone is new could understand here. Suppose you have a variable like gender. In gender, we have 3 categories: male, female, and transgender. And we have another column, income. Income of male is 10,000, female is 8,000, and transgender is 5,000 income. Monthly income is given to here. And we required one more column. This is the gender into income. We are doing this calculation because whenever you perform any analysis like the linear, the logistic regression, there is a mathematical calculation, the arithmetical operations are involved over there in this process, making this. So if you put some, you give some order to this 1, 2, 3, and if you as a male you are taking is 1, the female you are taking 2, and the transgender you are taking as 3. If you multiply this number, then you get here 10,000, and here you will get the 8,000, and here you will get the, not that's 8,000, it is the 16,000 you will get over here, because the 2 multiplied by that, and here you will get the 15,000. So is it correct? It is the monthly income of male, and is it correct or not? So what we do, we create some dummy variables for the categorical variable. We make the dummy variable like always the maximum number of dummy variables we could produce k minus 1. K is the number of category here. There are 3 categories. Some say n minus 1, n is the number of category. So you won't confuse, so I am using the k instead of n, and sometimes see the total number of observations. So k minus 1 means we require the 2 dummy variables, or we could, there is no hard and fast rule for which one, which two you have to take, or which you have to drop as a base category. So whichever variable we drop, that is called a base category variable. Okay. So I am taking two, male and female, and I am dropping third one, which is a transgender. But here I am writing for understanding purpose, but we will drop it. We will consider only two, male and female. Okay. Here just I am for the explaining this, I am just, if the someone is, suppose the Ramesh is a male, so it won't be a female or it won't be a transgender. And Kavita is a female, so we write in this way. And Sakila, so we write in this way. Got it? You will get only one at a one column, not in the all column, you not in the two column or the three column, you could get the one. So we remove this one, we are considering as a base, so we will not include it. If someone is not male or female, then it is some other thing. Got it? So if you consider this one here also in linear regression model, suppose you have a so many college name, you have a seven universities name in your form in on the portal. So if that name is there, so that is in the drop down menu. Suppose the 6 universities name you have mentioned in the drop down menu. So the one who belongs to under these 6 universities will select one and the form will complete. If someone is not from these 6 universities, then you have given some another option, other, in the drop down menu. So he will click that other, and other maybe he will specify the other university name. So it is not in your model, you have included all, some other university name will not be considered. So your model will deny to accept this. It will say it is not there in the model. Does that make sense to everyone? This variable is not there. Is it clear to all? So there is an option. So we use the dummy variable. That is a base category which is hidden in the model. If something is not this, then that is something else which is in hidden. That will also consider. Is it clear to all?
Yes, sir.
So we are taking always k minus 1, not k. Sonia, you have not cleared dummy variable. Whatever the category you have in a categorical column, we always take one less dummy variable. Okay, we don't take the if you have the 3 category, don't take, these are not the category are the male, female, and the transgender. We consider only any two. There is no hard and fast. Generally in practice we use the highest frequency we consider and the lowest frequency we put for the base category. What it, we create a table, frequency table, and we see which one has a low frequency. We consider that in our base category. It is there in the model, but it is hidden. Something rather than that would be comes in that category, in the base category. Got it? You have the 6 university, it means 5 you are taking as a dummy variable, and the sixth one would be in a base category. The other will also go in this base category. Whatever you take other universities rather than this 5 will goes to base category. So your model will not stuck anywhere. Maximum k minus 1. It may be k minus 5 also, k minus 4 also. Understand? Sometimes we have 10 categories or the 9 categories we have, or we see these categories like some profession, teacher, engineer, clerk, and auto driver, pilot, and so many categories we have, 9 categories. And we see the table here, the frequency of them. And we see we see that the frequency is less than, we have a data of 1000, 2000 rows, whatever. And we see the frequency less than 100, we don't have to consider in the main categories. We have to consider them all in a base category. So those all would be in a base category, the frequencies of whose is less than 100. And the more than 100 you will take as a dummy variable. Got it? Other will go to the base category because they have very few frequency, 5, 7, 3, 2. Got it? Okay. Maximum k minus 1. It may be k minus 5 also. It may be k minus 5 means 9 minus 5. You are taking only 4. You are taking only 4. You have removed the 5 as a base category. You have kept them. Okay. Jaideep, got it? Yeah. So that is the process. If you have a data, if they are numeric, and they have something by which they are we are unable, they are showing us as a character in R, just like there is some percentage. So due to this percent sign, it is not a numeric. So we convert this in numeric, remove this percent sign, and then convert as dot numeric in a numeric form. If you have the class interval 10 to 20 and 20 to 30, so remove this hyphen and make a column 1 for these and the column 2 for these, then find out the mid value of this and convert them in numeric. So whatever the possible variable you could convert in numeric, you convert them in numeric first. Then you proceed for the categorical variable and you convert them in a dummy variable. Got it? Is it clear to all? This is the pre-processing of linear regression, logistic regression model. You have to do this thing first. Okay. Then our all variables would be numeric. When our all variables are numeric, then you could proceed for training the model. So the pre-processing is very important in the modeling. It takes approximate the 60 to 80% of the time of the project when we pre-process the model, the pre-processing activity. Capture your 60 to 80% time of the total project. It's not an easy process. Pre-processing is very, very important. And one company has taken one project of a liquor company. and there is a EMV, you know that the earning media value, unmedia value, and one is the paid media value. And this concept is there in the liquor company, one of the big, I could not disclose the name. And they stuck somewhere in a regression model. There we have to perform one linear regression model. And due to pre-processing, you have done wrong pre-processing. And now they are getting the values which are not feasible. They are getting some coefficients negative, which should be positive. Which should be positive. Those variable, the coefficient may be negative, positive, both. But those particular variables, coefficients which should be positive, they are getting negative. So that is the mistake of pre-processing of the data. They could not understand how to pre-process the data. They have scaled the data in a different scale. Yeah, magnitude also affect the data. We have to better to convert the data in the same scale sometimes. Okay, scaling is very important. I am going to explain that also here in this theoretical concept. One by one, I will explain the thing. Scaling is very important. And sometimes our data is too much skewed. Skewness belongs between -1 and 1. That is a normal skewness. Normal doesn't mean that the normal data skewness is a minus 0.5 between plus 0.5. But the normal range of skewness, that is not a normal distribution range. Understand this thing. Normal range of skewness is from -1 to +1. Okay. So +1 means if there is a value greater than 0.05, then it is a positive skew. If it is less than -0.5, it is negative skew. Okay. The sum variable shows the skewness more than 5, more than 12, more than 22. Some variables. Then we have to control the skewness. We are not converting them in a normal distribution. We are controlling the skewness only. When we control the skewness, the data unfortunately or the fortunately, data may get the normal distribution. That is not always. We are not that intention to convert the data in the normal form. We have to control the skewness. We have to control the skewness means we have to reduce the skewness between 1 and -1 from 12. That is a highly skewed data. We have to maintain that skewness in a normal range of the skewness. If you control it, your model will be better. So the people ignore that thing. They apply, they have seen on the internet, we could use the square root distribution, we could use the square, we could use the log scale, and we could take this and we could take this. They apply so many things. So what we have to apply, that is very important. Where you have to apply the square root, where you have to apply the log, what would be the impact of log, what would be the impact of square root or the cube root. There are so many things. So in the data pre-processing is not a small task, only this much that what we are doing. It doesn't, it is not easy to convert the data in the numeric form, and then it is convert all the variable in the numeric form, you proceed for the training. No, there are so many things. Got it? Because we are going to predict something, or prediction is not an easy task. Okay. We have a science of prediction, you know that, the astrology. But very few persons give the right prediction. Very few. 1 out of 1 lakh astrologer can predict somewhere correct prediction. So prediction is not an easy task. We have to see so many aspects when we predict something. Okay. So just a moment. Where is that? Yeah. So I think you all understand what is linear regression and what are the how we measure the performance of linear model. And later I will explain you much more thing about this, because it is a theoretical part. Tomorrow we will take the half lecture for the theoretical, and then we start the our practical. Or we are taking one data where we have lots of pre-processing, and I will not take the data which is clean already and we just apply the linear regression model and train it. No, we'll get a rough data and we pre-process the data, and then we apply that training model. Is it clear? Yes. Some questions are there, sir. Magnitude of variable. Okay, I cleared. Can you explain, sir, once more technique to convert highly skewed data? Is it log, cube root, square root? If I will explain you this all thing. Later on the classes, I will explain the all techniques by which we could control the skewness. That is very important thing. Okay. Otherwise, it will give the negative result. Yeah. Someone else have any question? Yeah.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes. Aditya, are you there today?
Yes, sir.
Welcome, Aditya.
Thank you, sir. So, my question is related to correlation. As you mentioned that we find a correlation between the two variables.
Yeah.
So, is there any technique to find three variables correlation?
This is the intra-correlation we find in the principal component. And the factor analysis, we see the intra-correlation.
Okay.
But mostly the correlation we see, it is a bivariate analysis.
Yeah.
No, it is a bivariate analysis basically. Or intra-correlation is also a kind of that. Partial correlation, you have a lesson about the partial correlation.
Yes, sir.
Just like that, we could do something. Okay.
Okay, but that can be derived on some R platform.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything is there in R. Whatever the related to statistics
Okay.
is already exist in R. Don't worry. Everything. Because this software, this programming language is prepared by the statistician, not by the IT persons. Okay, so they have kept each and everything.
Right.
Oh, some old are there. Mr. Radhakrishna is not there today. I think Suresh Kumarji is also not there. I have sent them the invitation. Mail. Yeah, in the this is the statistics. These are the concepts will be applicable everywhere. R and Python are only the tools. The concept would be same, na? Concept would be same. Concepts will not change. Jaideep, you are from India or abroad? First thing is that. As per that, I will recommend you the good book, Kolkata, India. There is a book of S.P. Gupta for the statistics. For statistics, I am telling you. S.P. Gupta. The book name is Statistical Methods. You all must have to keep this book yourself. It's a very easy language, and the cost is not much more. It around less than 500 rupees. Gupta Kapoor is also good. Gupta Kapoor is also good. SP Gupta is also good. So you purchase this book and read it. It is a very simple language, and not I could not say that there is much more, but you will get the good knowledge. After getting this knowledge, you could refer some other books of the foreign authors and for the deep learning. This one is very easy book. What I have suggest you, SP Gupta, Statistical Methods. Book name is. There are some other also. Alan Svina also is there, and some other is there, but that is little bit language is not a proper interpretation is very important, which is better in the SP Gupta. Yes, someone was asking me some question.
So for R, can you suggest any such books like we can go easily through that?
This I suggest now. Statistical Methods from the SP Gupta. It's very easy book. And
So
this
for
the
R also it is dealing with?
R you won't go through the book. You will get more confusion if you go through the book.
Okay.
I have the e-books. I will share with you. Don't worry. I will share in the drive, and you could take with this course contents. Okay.
Yes, sir.
But that is not. It will confuse you if you
Okay,
read through the book.
Okay, sir.
I have read through the book
Alright.
before 8 years.
Yes, sir.
And I got 6 months to complete the R.
Yes, sir.
16 hours daily.
Yes, sir.
So that's more confusing. Now the new books are coming. They are giving some new easy way, the easy language. So I will share few books to you.
Yeah.
With
So
you
like
all.
for time series analysis of data, like I wanted to know on that aspect. So I was asking.
Okay, time series data, na?
Yes, sir. Like 35 years data we are working for forest. So how can we analyze the trends? So can you please suggest if later on?
Okay, I will suggest you one thing. I have few links
All right,
from where you could get the good stuff of the time series analysis.
All right, sir.
Okay, I will
Thank you,
share
sir.
with you that link.
Okay.
Because the time series analysis is the most difficult analysis in all sort of analysis. You know that.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
It is
that's why.
it is the most difficult analysis. There are so many things in the time series analysis.
All right,
And
sir.
if one is perfect, so he could make the prediction of the lottery
Yeah.
and be a millionaire in a few days.
Yes, sir.
So that may be happen.
All right, sir.
but there is a very deep knowledge of the time series analysis.
Okay, sir.
And so I will share that link to you. You could
Okay,
get lots of stuff over there and go through it, and you will get so many things in the time series analysis.
thank you, sir.
There is a concepts basically for these all. Codes may not be there. I think that codes we will learn here in the R. Then you could do later on the R, everything.
Yeah, yeah.
But you must have know the concept
Yes.
about the time series analysis. We have the time series analysis, but not in this part. In the R4, we have the time series analysis.
Okay, sir.
We have the ARIMA and we have the exponential and smoothing.
All right, sir.
Both sort of things we cover there. Mr. Mukesh, are you there, sir? Mukesh, sir? We have R1 and R2, R3 and R4 only, 2 advanced module we have. We cover everything there, and or it may take sometimes more time. Not only in the 10 days, it may cover 12, 15 days also. Sometimes it depends on the batch. It depends on the flow of my teaching, and depends on the how interactive is the session. So time is not a constant. Python we are going to launch after this one Python course we are going to launch. In the Python basic is not for 6 days. That is for the 10 days basically. That in the R you see we have the R foundation only for the 6 days. But we have tried to frame Python foundation for 6 days. So it does not cover in 6 days. Because we have to cover the library like the Python and the NumPy and the OOPS concepts also there in the Python foundation. So these are the parts of the Python foundation. So it take very long time. So it will cover in the 10 days, the Python foundation.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, what are the topics to be covered in this session, means whole course?
In this whole course, we are covering the linear regression, logistic regression beta, and regularization, lasso, ridge, elastic net, with the regression analysis, and then the segmentation and clustering, and finally PCA, principal component analysis.
Okay, sir.
Okay, Aishwarya? Okay, I think Mr. Mukesh is not there available. I think he will come in 5 minutes, or maybe I just ping him. हाँ सर आ रहे हैं क्या? So Jaideep, you are asking that the confused with R and Python. So may I know a little bit about your background educational? So I could suggest you which one is better for you. Jaideep. Vijay Anandji, I will explain you the partial correlation tomorrow about it. Don't worry. Okay? I will explain it. So okay, Jaideep. So one should not be a tool centric in any field. And there are two prime tool we are using in the data analytics, that is the R and Python. So we should have the knowledge of both tool. But if you are only in the academic field, not in the IT, then the R is okay. There is no requirement of Python. But if you are in a IT part, you are want to be strong in the IT also. So then is Python is compulsory. And the machine learning, if you are doing the AI model, want to develop some, uh, so then the Python is compulsory. Okay. Otherwise, for academic purpose, the data analytics, what you are doing with the organized data, like the structured data, Excel sheet, SQL, and this sort of row and columns, then R is better. If you have completed your Aishwarya bachelor in statistics, you should better with the R. Don't go with Python now. First you work with R 1 year at least. Then you, if you see that no, I have to switch to Python also, I have to learn to Python. After 1 year you learn the Python, it would be better for you, because you have just completed your bachelor in the statistics. You work with R. Okay. Dr. Yadav, for machine learning, Python or R? There is a two part of machine learning. One is with structured data and one is with unstructured data. So if we have to work only with the structured data, Dr. Yadav, if you are in academic field, then this linear, logistic, and decision tree, random forest, naive Bayes, this all work in the R with the structured data. And if you have to work with the images and the text and these all things, then there is a Python is required for the machine learning purpose. All company requires Python. Why, Jaideep? Because they are the IT companies. But in near future, in every industry, there is a need of a data analyst, like an accountant. Now, each company require one accountant. You know that. Every small company also, the company of the 10% will require one accountant over there. Similarly, in future, the company which are having more than 100 or the 100 employees or the 50 employees, they require one data analyst. Yeah, we have a parallel, we work on that. Don't worry, these courses always running all the time. We start some courses on the R, then Python. Okay. And the first we finish the R, then the Python will start. Later on we start with. Don't worry. So in the healthcare industry, in the education also, they will require some data analyst. Because you know that the too much data is created nowadays everywhere, in the every industry, in the restaurant and everywhere the data is created. Too much data is there. So there is a requirement of a data analyst to sustain themselves in the market. Yeah, we will provide some assignment after this. That assignment, we will provide one data set, and then you have to do the linear regression analysis. You have to use that. You have to complete that assignment, and you have to submit it. And after four part R4, we provide 5 projects of a different stream. And then you have to work on that, and you could discuss on the WhatsApp group, and you mail us, and you have to, the result, whatever you are getting, you mail us. Okay. So 5 projects, one with related to retail market, one is the related to real estate, one is related to operation manufacturing unit, one is related to banking sector. In this way, the 5 different projects we provide, and one by one you have to complete it. Okay. If we start the quiz here, so our course duration will increase. Now we waste our time on asking the question, the people are responding, and then this sort of things not possible in the 10 days session. These all things, but we provide the assignment of each topic. After the completion of the linear regression, you will get one assignment. Then you have to finish it. Then the next chapter will start logistic. After logistic, we provide one assignment for the logistic. In this way, we also provide the solution, but later on. Okay. So is there anyone has any doubt? Yes. Nikita, do you have any query?
No, sir. No, sir. It was
Okay.
clear.
Okay. Chitij is also our old participant. I think that you are.
Yes. No doubt, sir. Today was a good start, I would say, after a long time.
Yes. The old participants I am seeing here in this workshop. Jaideep, nice to meet you. And I always appreciate the queries. So if there are more queries, then I feel that I am a mine of coal, and there are so many diamonds inside it. So if you mine it, if you make the queries, means you are mining it, and you will get more and more diamonds. Okay. So there are so many things in this mine. I have 26 more year experience. So there are so many things I have learned in this journey. So this is my passion, to give the knowledge to other. Or we could not give the all things what we have, the limited curriculum. You ask the question, then we give some stones to you, precise. You know? So not possible to explain each and everything during the teaching. Okay, we finish it now. Everybody is, I think that the hungry, most of you, and take dinner. Thanks everyone. Meet
Thank you,
tomorrow.
sir.
Okay, thank you. Meet tomorrow.